Hey everyone, just wanted to give you a quick heads up. The second Global Product Owner Summit is coming soon. You can get all the details at bit.ly/Product Owner 2024. That's bit.ly/Product Owner 2024. And it's all lowercase, all one word. Oh, and stick with us until the end of the episode to know the dates and the tracks that we have for you in this year's summit. But for now, let's dive into today's episode. Hello, everybody. Welcome to one more week of the Scrum Master Toolbox podcast. And this week, joining us from the UK is Paul Jarvis. Hey, Paul, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me, Vasco. It's a pleasure to be here.
Likewise, Paul is a seasoned Enterprise Lean Agile Coach, also a trainer, also an RT, and also a Scrum Master with a decade of experience in the FinTech sector, focusing on banking, payments, and e-commerce. And he recently completed a 3.5-year tenure at a key player in investment banking. So we'll probably hear a lot about that industry. For those of you who work in the industry, stay tuned for the week of episodes. Paul, that was a short intro. Tell us a little bit more about yourself and how did you end up becoming a Scrum Master?
I was a developer for a very short while, and quite frankly, I wasn't a very good one. I was technically a full stack developer. I mean, I taught myself programming. This is subsequent because when I went to university, I studied economics, and I worked in shipping for a while as a broker, to tell you the truth, as a ship broker. And then I decided I'm going to have a change of career, and I sat down, I taught myself to write computer programs. But as I said, I wasn't a very good one. I did code in C#. I did some SQL, Microsoft SQL database stuff, some stored procedures. I did a little bit of dabbling on the front end with some HTML, some XSLT, some JavaScript. But I wasn't a very good developer. And then I actually initially went towards client-facing project manager. I did my Prince 2 practitioner foundation. And I joked actually with my last boss in the American company that did the investment banking side of things, that Agile came along and saved me. But actually it really did. And it's been an incredible journey. And I was paying attention and the Agile ways of working were born in the early 2000s. As we know, 2001 was the Agile Manifesto. And by the time I was working in digital agencies as a client-facing project manager, the Agile was gradually seeping over to this part of the world, to the UK and to Europe as well. It took a little while for the wave to come across the Atlantic, as it were. But then I started to get into Agile, and then Scrum came along. And then I did, in the noughties, I was working in digital agencies and mobile agencies as a Scrum Master, putting together websites and mobile apps, before I then, in the last 10 years, have focused on financial technology and kind of taken that next step towards Agile Coach and trainer.
Absolutely. So it's quite a rich story and varied story as well. And I'm sure that you have a lot of stories to tell from that background.
I've got scars, if that's what you want to see.
Indeed. And those scars are really important, right? Like
they are.
The story behind each of those scars makes us better Scrum Masters, and that's what we want to explore. So, Paul, tell us the story of a moment where you, as a Scrum Master, you did your best, but as so often happens, sometimes the best just isn't good enough. We'll dive into the takeaways later, but tell us that story first, Paul.
Sure. I'm probably quite fortunate in that I probably have to go back a little way before I saw to recall a team driving off a cliff, if you want to call it that. I think in the early days, when I was still learning my trade, and I probably wasn't the best Scrum Master in the world, right? You don't go straight into something and expect to be top of the pile. I was in one of the digital agencies in particular. We did a lot of websites for property agents, for estate agents, we call them in the UK, and we did the front end, so the look and the feel of the website in-house, but we subcontracted the back end out, often to UK or Eastern Europe providers, and that was hard work. To be honest with you, it probably was more Scrum fall, as they call it. We were moving away from waterfall, but it was still essentially a sequential approach, even though I was trying to get them to work in iterations. And getting them to talk to each other was very difficult. And I think in these days, with the modern communications and all the Zooms that we're using now, and the whiteboards, I mean, how fantastic are they for communicating and collaborating with each other? But
Especially now that we work remote, right?
exactly. I mean, they were, to be honest with you, they were, in my humble opinion, a necessity before COVID came along. They're definitely a necessity now. They're wonderful tools. Miro and Mural in particular are fantastic collaboration online tools. Anyway, back to the story. I in the end, when we were getting towards the deliveries, I literally just had to get both people. I had to get key people from my company, key people from the external third-party suppliers on the phone, sometimes every day, every morning, and just work out a plan. We were kind of doing a stand-up for the day, if you see what I'm trying to. But I just struggled to get them to communicate properly with each other.
When you look back at those times, and of course as they say, hindsight is 2020, right? So when
Yeah.
you look back at those days, what are some of the things you wish you would have done at the time to make your job more successful and also easier?
Yeah, that's a tough question to answer as well. I think probably I could have explained what I was trying to do a bit better to them. They were used to waterfall ways of working. I was trying to drag them off into a different direction with this agile ways of working. This was the new thing off the block, and Scrum was born by then. And I probably didn't do the best job explaining what I was trying to do and why I was trying to do it and why I thought it would benefit them and the customer both. And I could have done a better job in that regard. I learned that
When
lesson.
you think about that aspect of communicating what we are trying to do and how it's different and how it's better, of course, than
Yeah.
a previous way of working, what are some of the things you've learned from experience that really drive home the message that Agile is not just another process, but it has a significant impact on how we work? So it changes how we work, but it also
Yeah.
has immense benefits.
I do. I mean, I've learned as a seasoned agile coach now that no one's going to like anything being thrown at them. To use a phrase in English, it may sound a bit aggressive, but shoved down the back of their throat. And what you want to do is sell it to them. And actually, in my last organization, a very senior manager gave me a wonderful description of agile. She said, she's a senior manager in the London office, and I worked with her a little bit. She said, agile is a framework for collaboration. And what we're trying to do with agile, it was, if you look at it in the team, we're trying to get the team to work together, so the product owner and the Scrum Master shield the rest of the team from all the other noise in the organization. The product owner takes care of the product and the stakeholders and the sponsor. The Scrum Master takes care of everything else, all the other noise, so that the team can focus together and they have good communication with each other. And in scaling that up into agile release trains or tribes, as we used in my last organization with the Spotify model, we're trying to get teams of teams to work coherently and cohesively together, so that we build the most comprehensive, slick process from the trigger to the point of delivery. That's what we're trying to do with agility. And I do honestly believe that it's it's certainly a much better way of working than the old waterfall method. That was very painful in those days. I mean, that's what happened in the Snowbird cabin when they all, in 2001, when Alistair Coburn and all of the other people who invented the Agile Manifesto, they got snowed in one day. I remember I went to a speech and I heard him tell the story. And they got snowed in one day and they got to talking with each other. And almost immediately, the consensus in the entire room was 100%. Waterfall was not working. It was painful. Every project was over budget. Every project was late. It wasn't sustainable delivery, especially at the end. It was full of bugs. The customers turned around and said, that's not what we asked for. And they just unanimously agreed with each other there had to be a better way of doing it.
And
It
not
took
only
longer.
that, but one point that I want to add to what you just said is that waterfall is still not working, right? We're
No.
23 years later than the Agile Manifesto, and waterfall, unfortunately, is still being used by many organizations who are still facing the exact same problems you just described were there in the late 90s, early 2000s.
Yes. And it took them a few more days to thrash out what became the Agile Manifesto. But that consensus was almost immediate. They all unanimously agreed there's got to be a better way of doing it. That's one thing I really believe it's a better way of working. It's certainly, I mean, if you go to Jeff Sutherland and Ken Schwaber, who invented Scrum, they'll tell you it's a lightweight framework for solving complicated problems, and especially in the software industry, which has been the majority of my own experience. And software is an inherently complex domain, and you can't. I mean, waterfall actually comes from the building industry, the construction industry originally. And I'm sat in my kitchen now, and I did a building project 4 or 5 years ago. To do an extension, a wraparound, a side and a rear extension. And I can tell you that even then waterfall didn't work properly because there's so many things you don't know. There's so many things you only discover as you peel back all the layers. And it's the same with software. It's an inherently complex domain. And so we need something suitable to try and tackle the problems we're being asked to fix.
Absolutely. And great ideas on how to communicate that value that you just gave us. So thank you for sharing that, Paul.
Pleasure.
Hi there, Agile friends. Thank you for sticking around and listening to the details of the Product Owner Summit, this year's global summit dedicated to a critical Scrum role, the Product Owner role, of course. We'll have some amazing keynotes and 4 tracks filled with first-hand stories and experiences for product owners to learn more about that critical Scrum role. The summit will take place between April 23rd and 25th, so book your calendars. There will be loads of sessions for you to attend. One of the keynotes will be Dave West, the product owner and CEO at Scrum.org, one of the largest Scrum organizations in the world. If you want to know more, check out the details at bit.ly/product owner 2024. That's all one word, all lowercase, bit.ly/product owner 2024. We will also have 4 tracks. The 4 tracks will cover cross-functional product ownership. That's track 1. As Pixar's Ratatouille said, not every idea can be a great idea, but a great idea can come from anywhere. And this quote emphasizes the importance of a product owner being open to all ideas, regardless of the source, and also challenges us to focus on getting good ideas from everywhere and involving the whole team in the product owner role and responsibilities. The second track is Designing Products for Growth, where we explore how to craft products ready for scalable growth, merging practical strategies with innovation. The idea here is to learn to design products for growth, whether it is sales or customer acquisition. The third track is Know Your Users, user-centric approaches for agile development. In this track, we learn to master user-centric techniques in agile development, to deeply understand customer needs and transform insights into meaningful UX designs that focus on engagement and satisfaction. This is a track ideal for innovation-focused agile teams. And the fourth track, one of the most exciting tracks in my opinion, is product development with AI, ideas for product owners. Not only do we discuss about using AI in the products, but also AI for product owners to learn to make a bigger impact with the help of the AI tools that we already have. The Product Owner Summit will also present to you great opportunities to network with your peers. So get your ticket and join our Slack. You can get the ticket and join the Slack at bit.ly/product owner 2024. As always, we have free tickets and also the paid tickets that help to support this podcast. So check them out at bit.ly/product owner 2024. That's all lowercase, all one word, product owner 2024. I'll see you in the summit floor.